hard, really fun. And on like day 4, we were like almost to the top of the mountain. So we were like alpine levels. We were above the trees. And one of the leaders that I was with was like, hey, like we're going to go rappelling today. So anybody that wants to go rappelling, we're going to go. And I'm like, rappelling where? Because like the only thing I see is a cliff that drops straight off. Like I don't know what we're doing. And he's like, well, yeah, we're going right there. Like we're going to rappel off that. And I'm like, to where? Like it was like a 150-foot drop. And so he's like, yep, that's what we're doing. And I'm like, I like immediately start like shaking. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to do this, but I'm so scared. So I like harness up. I got my helmet on, my harness. I've never rappelled before. Don't have a clue what I'm doing. It's a beautiful day, but there's just this like thick fog. It's just like covering like the lakes that are down below, so you can't see anything. And so I'm like, here we go. So I got my harness and my helmet, and I just like, there's just like a rope connected into this big rock on the ground. And so I'm like, so what do I do? Like just down? He's like, let it go. And I'm like, so I like start going down, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot see a thing because there's just fog. And so I start going, and at that moment I can't really remember what I was thinking for the next like 3 minutes because I was so scared I thought I was gonna die. But after I went down a little bit, like I got below the fog and I could see, and I wasn't, the wall actually went in. So I literally, there were points where I was just hanging in my harness, and I could just look out across the lake and across everything that we had just climbed the last 3 days. Because we rose in elevation like 7,200 feet in a couple days. So it was incredible. I was scared to death, but it was one of the most beautiful things that I've ever seen. Just to be like, holy cow, I just like step out of the fog and like, I'm just like hanging in midair, just looking at this most beautiful scenery. And so we'll get back to that story, but as I was preparing for what I was going to talk to you guys about tonight, this story like came to mind, or that opportunity I had came to mind. So if you guys were here last week, Meg shared about what we call the incarnation of Jesus, of God sending his son, Jesus Christ, to earth. Of God coming in human form and living and walking on this earth. And that's a big deal. Like, Jesus was fully God and fully man. And he lived on our earth. And that's a big deal. We have God was living and walking here. That makes me say, like, wow, what was God like? What did he do? What did he say? And one of the stories that I want to share with you guys tonight is comes from the New Testament, and it's from Luke. And it's a story about a man named Zacchaeus. And Zacchaeus says he was a short man, small man, and he was a tax collector. And in Jesus' day, like to be a tax collector was not a good thing. Like he had a lot of money because he was a thief, essentially. Like he would go and he would collect the taxes from people, and he would take more than he was supposed to, and then the extra he would keep for himself. So nobody liked tax collectors. They were like low man on the totem pole. So Zacchaeus is a tax collector. And it says in chapter 19, Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through. A man was there by the name of Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was wealthy. He wanted to see who Jesus was, but being a short man, he could not because of the crowd. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore fig tree to see him, since Jesus was coming that way. When Jesus reached the spot, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today. So he came down at once and welcomed him gladly. All the people saw this and began to mutter, he has gone to be the guest of a sinner. So Jesus is walking around with this big crowd following him, because there were always crowds following him. They all wanted to see him because he was performing miracles and doing great things. And so Jesus is coming through town, and Zacchaeus is like, oh my gosh, I have to see Jesus. Like, he's coming by. I have to see him. So he runs ahead and he climbs into a tree because he's like small, so he can't see if there's a crowd. And Jesus comes by, and it's just, that's so awesome. Jesus comes, and he just looks up in the tree and says, Zacchaeus, come down immediately. Jesus doesn't know who Zacchaeus is. Like, they've never met. And he just calls him by name and he says, come down. I'm going to stay at your house tonight. And I think, like, you know, the first couple times I've read through that, I'm like, oh, I just kind of skim over that, like, oh, I'm going to stay at your house today. Like, God is going to stay at his house today. And if that was us today, that'd be like, think of like the most awesome person you could possibly imagine, just like walking through town and be like, hey, I'm going to stay at your house today. Like, and all the people are like, muttering under their breath, like, Zacchaeus, you're going to stay at Zacchaeus, like, you must not know, like, he's a tax collector, like, he's not very cool. He's a nobody. Nobody likes him. He's, like, bad. And so they're, like, all confused. And then, catch this, so then in verse 8, but Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, look, Lord, here and now I give half of all of my possessions to the poor, and if I have cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay them back 4 times the amount. That comes out of nowhere too. Like, Jesus hasn't even said anything to him yet except for, I'm going to stay at your house. And he's just like, look, Lord. He recognizes right off the bat. He's calling him Lord. He's calling him God. Lord, if I've cheated anybody, I will pay them back 4 times. I will give half of everything I have to the poor. And then Jesus says to him, today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man, he's talking about himself, for the Son of Man came to seek and to save what was lost. This story just blows me away, because I think we all feel like Zacchaeus sometimes, maybe more than sometimes, because we feel like we're nobody, or we feel like we're not worthy, or we know people who feel like they're not worthy. And that's who Jesus came after. He was in a crowd of people, and that's who he spotted out. Zacchaeus, come down that tree. I'm going to stay in your house tonight. I'm going to be your friend. I care about you. I love you. And that last verse, I think, is the greatest. For the Son of Man, it's a capital S, capital N, name of Jesus. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save what was lost. Zacchaeus was lost. Like, he was pretty lost in this life. And Jesus came for him and to save him. And he comes for us and to save us. This story to me is just so, just screams the love that Jesus has for us. And when I say Jesus loves you, I don't know what that makes you feel. I don't know what you think of when I say that. But I want you to throw out any idea of anything that comes to your mind when you hear the word love, like, throw it out. Because we don't know the love of God. It's not the kind of love that we experience. It's so much bigger, it's so much deeper, it's so much more, because Jesus created love. He is love. Another verse in Ephesians, Paul, who wrote Ephesians, said, he was praying, and he said, I pray that you would have the power to grasp how wide, how long, how high, and how deep is the love of Christ, and to know this love that surpasses knowledge. A love that surpasses knowledge. Wow, that's crazy. That we can't understand it. That I can't comprehend the love that Jesus has for me, and the love that he has for each and every one of you guys, and that he wants to be in relationship with you. Just like with Zacchaeus, that he said, Zacchaeus, I want to come to your house. And he doesn't care what all the other people think and what all the other people are doing. Like, Jesus picked him out. And he picks each and every one of us out. I just think that is such a great it's such a great story, and there's so much, oh my gosh, there's so much more I want to say, but I'm going to end it with that. And I would just encourage you guys, as you go home tonight, and as you're at school and doing whatever you're doing, to think about that, to consider that. I believe with my full heart that Jesus came, like, God sent his son, God came down in human form to show us how much he loves us, to say, I created you and I love you. I love you more than anyone else will ever love you. And I know you better than anybody else will ever know you. I know the things you do. I know the things that you have done. I know the things you think about doing. And I don't care anything. I don't care the things that you've done. I love you. And I just encourage you guys to think about that, and to let it sink in. Give it a chance, because it's the most awesome thing in this world that we have. So yeah, that's all I've got.